how much of the original game did you have access to? So obviously we had access to the console port, because that's still there. If anybody's interested in it, it's sat there on both consoles and it works last gen and current gen. So we obviously had access to that. That wasn't ideal because obviously we're playing on controller. We didn't, well, so I can't speak for the original small team that began the actual project, because I joined after I want to say about a year or so, maybe a year and a half. So I don't think they had access to the PC version. By the time I joined, we certainly didn't have access to play the PC version. We did have access to all of the assets, etc. And again, I know that it's a bit of a contentious conversation, but I know there were conversations that were had about using the assets from H1, and when they tried to import them, the artists tried to import them from the old Unreal 3 to Unreal 4, the version that we were using. There were just so many problems, which is why they just decided we can't do that. We can't use the original assets even. But in answer to your question about the game, my understanding is we didn't have access to the original H1 on PC to play it at all. We only had access to the console one. So I hope that answers the question for you. Let's keep going. Yeah, just Squid Salsa, thanks for your comment there. It's one of the things that we're now starting to see. We've been seeing since update 3, and the last few days since we pushed update 4, we're seeing even more. There's obviously very different opinions, which this type of game is exactly that. That's exactly how it works. So for every person that says, "Oh, I hate the bulwark, I never play with it because it's rubbish," there's going to be somebody else that comes in and says, "I only play with the bulwark because that's the only way I can survive and I really enjoy it." And so yeah, so for everybody that doesn't like the chassis and class and weapon restrictions, there's somebody that says, "No, I like it. It means it's nice and neat. I get to choose from the restricted set, and I get to learn how the weaknesses and strengths of those particular weapons." Jordan has sent us a message saying, we miss you, mate. We really do. I hope everything's all right with you. Yeah, we definitely miss having you around for sure. Aha, Harold. I would like class-specific variants of the same weapon. Yeah, I think that's where we'll be heading towards. I'll be honest with you. It won't happen super quickly because there's always so much to do on the game. But I reckon that's where we'll be going certainly in the midterm. That's where we'll be going with them. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we want to do with variant weapons as well. We don't make anywhere near the amount of use that we want with our factions. And as you can see with update 4, factions are now starting to play a little bit of a bigger part, because every weapon has a faction manufacturer, and if you destroy or kill an enemy of that manufacturer, you get a bonus CXP, etc. And we're really going to try and dig into that. And what we want to do is start adding weapons and even mech chassis actually, and thrusters that are variants of existing ones that come from a different manufacturer. So for example, the Renegades, who are kind of like our bandits, the idea is to have them. They're the guys that really they're in the garages knocking together these things, and they, when they kill a prosk mech, they'll nick the thruster or weapon from it, and then they'll adapt it. And that's what we're hoping to do. So all of a sudden, we'll put in there a bandit version of a prosk weapon that wasn't there before, and we will kind of adapt it to be more associated with Renegades, I suppose. Chain CJ, so I'm really sorry if I'm butchering anybody's names on here. Any plans for non-mech bosses? One of the more memorable experiences from OG was the airborne destroyers, and I'd love to see them make a return. Okay, so the short answer is yes. 100% we would love to do that, and actually we did have plans. There's a couple of enemies that we started to put into the game when we had the full team from over a year and a half ago. and unfortunately we had to sort of shelve that. And to be honest with you, one of the other reasons we shelved it was because, again, we just decided, listen, there's no point in having other types of bosses if the core moment-to-moment gameplay is just not good enough. But the answer is yes, we definitely want them. Whether we're going to be able to achieve it in the short or mid-term, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm completely agree with you there. I'd love to have Gabriel mechs, etc., and stuff like that. Let's see if we can dig out some more questions. Oh, someone's asking about if a laser would fit the Vex gameplay. They hit and run. So an interesting thing about that is, again, one of the reasons why we created this sub category of Vex, Aerial, and Bulwark was because as we add more mechs to the game, we realized that we're going to be really restricted really quickly from just a weight class. So there's nothing to stop us creating a Vex, one of the other light mechs, which is a Vex mech, but it doesn't. It's not necessarily a close hit and run type mech. There's nothing to stop us doing that. It's just balancing numbers, and someone sitting there, sort of going through it and trying to create a new character. And I think that's one of the things. I mean, this is not dissimilar to H1 at all. One of the things is we want every mech to almost be its own character. Visually, I think we get that already. We're almost getting that for free, especially with the fact that the mechs in here are the old ones at the moment from the original game. They're just new models. But yeah, there's nothing to stop us doing that. A bulwark that just you can really fire around. But the problem that we have is it's the balancing. So balancing its shields, its hull HP, etc., to make sure that we don't have an OP bit of content. Dial up again. I can see from your point of view the difficulty. I know a large conversation is, why don't you just relaunch the OG game? I'm on that side. Yep, understood. The original Hawken was incredible, and this one is such a wildly different direction. Yeah, not sure. I mean, there's the amount of conversations in Discord. I'm sure most of you have read them already, and I guess we haven't really had. There's no kind of official response to that, and this isn't an official response. This is just my own personal response to that. We've said it substantial times, and it is true. I'm afraid it is the same boring answer. When they originally looked at bringing back Hawken, their biggest thing was, this is a fantastic IP. The world of Hawken, the universe of Hawken, the mechs. There's a massive USP in these mechs that everybody loved. But the PvP only game appeared to not be something that was viable from that perspective. So it literally is as simple as that. And I know that's a very boring answer because we've said it again and again, and people say it in Discord all the time. At this moment, that's not the viable thing for us to do. And to be honest with you guys, all you need to do is just look at the amount of PvP games that have suffered in just the last year and a half. It's really, really difficult. And the reason is obvious, right? Because the minute you have a PvP game, I can no longer play the game on my own. I have to have another player. And when you're a big AAA game and you've got tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of players, that's absolutely fine because any individual player can always find someone to play with. But when you're very small like us, and you know what our player base numbers are and what our online numbers are at any given time, the worst thing that can happen to us is any single player jumps into the game and can't find a player to play with. We've mitigated that. Obviously, the game's has had loads of other problems, but that one thing we've managed to mitigate because you can play the game on your own, and that puts us in a place where instantly people can just play it. I don't need to find somebody else. Yeah, I think we all of us know. Please don't. I don't mean to labour the point, but I do think it's important to just say to you all, we all know that the H1 player base absolutely loved Hawken 1, and I say Hawken 1, this isn't the sequel anyway, I don't know why I'm calling Hawken 1, but the original Hawken, we all know how much you loved it, and how much you just want to play it again, and you want it back. That's not the remit for this project. That's That's, I don't know if that sounds too harsh or too blunt, but honestly, that's literally the bottom line. That's simply not the remit for this project. You can have a go at me, you can shout at me if you want, but that's the truth. I'm trying to be as honest as I possibly can. All right, let's keep going. That question, Markson, love the crit point system. Good. Really, we're really chuffed with that. And yes, in order to your point about keeping the idea going, we are already trying to get to a second pass of that. And it's looking okay at the moment. And again, I'm hoping that real soon we can push an update for the second pass of the crit point system. Silverfire, opinions on continued gameplay. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find out if it's a question or just a comment. Yes, so Silverfire, just to answer that kind of point, or it's not really a question, it's more a point, regarding cover base movement. I think it's always going to be different. I'm not sure how close, and I know there's a couple of you that have mentioned this in the Discord chat as well. The way that the levels are built are completely different to each other, and I know that's quite difficult to sort of get your head around, because it's like, what are you talking about? You know, it's just a level with boxes in, which is relatively true. However, the original Hawken levels are small arenas that had the design, the amount of time that they would have spent. I don't know the team, by the way. I'm just my knowledge of creating these types of games. The amount of time that they would have spent on trying to perfect every single nook and cranny, every single corner of those levels. Through the roof. I mean, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. You know, designers just sat there and just looking at every corner and, you know, moving and shifting geometry a tiny bit. It's more difficult for us to do that. Number one, because especially now because we're a small team, these levels weren't built to be that way. These are, as these are much more open. We have a lot more height. And there's a lot more junk everywhere. So I'm not sure if we're ever going to be able to get as close as you may want to the Hawken 1 feel. We'll give it a shot and we'll try. It's even more difficult because, as I said, we're only able to play the console game, really. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how close we can get to it. But what I would say to you is, update after update, just keep trying to talk to us about it. And, you know, as you start to see some of the attributes change for the mechs, just keep going into Discord and saying, this isn't quite right, and try your best to be as explanatory as you can, so that we can understand why isn't it quite right. I would always encourage that. The more information you give us, and the more explanation you can say down to the finest detail to say it's not right because of A, B, C, D, EF, etc., the more we can first of all understand what you're saying and what it is that you're asking for, and then we can make a decision. And again, I'm going to be a little bit honest here. The decision is based around a couple of things. Number one, can we achieve what you're asking us to do? Sometimes we just can't. Number two, do we want to achieve what you want us to? Again, sometimes it's a difference of opinion. We have to make certain decisions that are not based exclusively on just being a player. So it could be something that we're like, no, we don't really want that to be a part of the game. But mostly, I would say it's a case of, can we do that thing that you want us to? I hope that answers, or just as a response to your point, Silverfire. I'm just trying to catch up. I'm a little bit behind you all in in terms of the questions and comments. Yeah. Cheers. Do I say Aha Harold? It's a great name, by the way. But yeah, we've so the comment is, I was a tad skeptical for the future of the game before version 4 or update 4, and now I'm hopeful and happy with the progress. I just wanted to mention this, just so that you know, I've mentioned in the Hawken main chat, I particularly every day I'll go into Discord and read every day all of your comments, every comment. Sometimes I have to fast track read it because I'm really busy in the middle of doing my work as well. But every single day, even at weekends, I log in, and the other devs, they try to keep as close an eye on it as possible. They've got a little bit less time than I do. Actually, they've got a lot less time than I do. But the reaction to update 4 has been a massive boost to the dev team. Like you can't believe it. You have to remember we are human, and the reaction to the original release of the game was was really difficult for the team. It was a much bigger team a year and a half ago when we first released, and the negativity surrounding the game has been pretty constant, and so obviously we've had to develop very thick skins as a result of that. And this is probably the first update where actually we're reading Discord, and the conversations that everyone is having appear to be, it's not even that they're positive, they just appear to be the conversations that you want to have about video games, right? It's like, okay, I played the game, I don't like that bit, but I really like that bit, or oh, we could do this and they could do this. So it's been a massive boost. So I want to thank everybody for that. That's really made us really happy, and all we can do is just keep trying. Honestly, we will. The dev team 100% want to keep trying their very best and working really hard to just continue making it better and better. So cheers for that, appreciate it. Silverfy makes a comment about retention. Retention is really tough, really difficult. I know it was a huge problem with the OG Hawken. And as you know, it's a problem with us as well. But it's a problem for everybody, to be honest. If I've missed any questions, by the way, please do let me know. I'm trying to do my best to scroll. Obviously, I'm not a professional at this. I'm just trying to do.
I don't know if Markson accidentally joined as speaker, but I didn't realize he could do that.
What happened, Hawken?
Markson hopped the stage like at a rock concert.
Oh, okay. Oh, Markson, that's a really good idea. Thanks, Markson, for that. If you've got a really good idea, that if it's a question, maybe put the word question in big capital letters like Markson has in the chat, and then at least I can really quickly find the questions versus comments. Original Hawken had basic VR support. Now that VR is much more common, are you willing to consider a degree of VR support? I would love to have VR support in the game, 100%. These are. The interesting thing is, every time I read something like that, whether it's in Discord or wherever it is about the game, like, yeah, we'd love to do that. We are players just like you guys as well, and so we often agree with comments like, yeah, we should have VR support. I guess the problem that we would have with VR is, at the moment, because of the size of the team and because there's still 1,000,001 things to do to continue to uplift every part of the game, to be honest. It's certainly not on our short and medium plan to have VR support. I would love to have it at some point in the future. The only slight problem with VR support is the speed at which you can throw your mech around. I'm assuming we might have problems in terms of making people feel sick while they're playing. I don't know, but yes, the short answer is yes, I would love to, and in the future I would definitely consider it for sure.
You could technically get it working as well. There was a player in the server a couple of months ago that actually did get it working, and he was building his own setup as well. So I'd imagine it's technically feasible if you knew how to do the backend stuff.
Yeah, I think there's actually a YouTube video where that chap has released a couple of videos of him or her, sorry, in a VR headset playing the game. It's really cool, I have to admit. It does look really cool. Artemis, I know it's not a question, it's just a point you've made about the XE being called Hawken 2. So I can at least give you a little bit of insight into that. So when the project first started, it was obviously a very small team. Whenever a new game kicks off, unless it's a big AAA game, which is very different, whenever a project like this kicks off, it's always a very small team that starts to do, little prototypes, etc., etc. They decided to call the XE Hawken 2 because they didn't really even know at that stage. My understanding is that nobody knew, was it going to be a sequel, was it going to be a side shoot, whatever it was. And over time, nobody went back and changed it. And the first time that we kind of suddenly realized, oh my God, we've got the XE as Hawken 2 was, I think it was like about a month before we went live, when I can't remember who it was, someone raised it and said, why is our XE Hawken 2, by the way? And we don't see it because obviously I'm playing in Steam, the guys are playing it in editor in UE4, so they never really click like Hawken 2.exe or anything. So nobody sort of realized, and by that time it was too late for us to go in and change all of the files, because it's not just the XE, there's a load of other stuff that all point to different file names. So it was too late to change, is the kind of short answer. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not good that we left that in there, but it's just one of those things. It kind of gives you a bit of insight as well into, remember that this team doesn't have a history of making this type of game, and so when they first started, they were on a really steep learning curve. Like the original guys, most of them are no longer here anymore. They had to learn Unreal on the fly as they were working on this game, etc. So it was amazing what they'd done. By the time I got here, it was incredible that, flying around in these mechs, etc., around the world. But yeah, it's just one of those things that slipped under the radar in terms of the XE name, and by the time somebody realised and said, why have we done that, it was just simply too late to change it. Dial Up has a follow-up. Thoughts about locking to first-person view? I found that was such a charming point of the original. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of insight into that as why we decided to add third person. So it's a bit of a boring explanation, but I'll just say it anyway. So first person is great, and you can see here, and I actually play in third person mostly. And the other day I was watching a video that one of the other devs was showing me, and I said to him, "Oh God, look how cool our weapons look in first person." And I'd kind of forgotten because I only play in third person. And that's literally one of the big reasons why we did it. We know already that there are a substantial number of people who can't play first person because it makes them feel sick. They get motion sickness, and instantly we thought, well, we don't want to cut those out if possible at all. And secondly, there are a substantial number of players who prefer third person. I'm one of them. I know I play some games in first person, if it's locked to first person, but the minute I've got a third person camera, I just always switch to it. I just prefer it. So again, we didn't want to isolate anybody that just enjoyed third person more. That was another reason. And then the other kind of reason is you're looking at it right now. They just look so damn great. And I was, when I was there, I was like, listen, in first person, I can't see how great I look in this mech. And I know we don't have customization in now, but again, customization is something that we've long talked about, and we want to try and get in as quickly as possible. I want to make that guy whatever colors I can and use whatever skins I can, and of course in first person it has less of an impact. Whereas if I'm a third-person type player, I can switch to that, and I can see how lovely my mech looks in whatever colours I want, whether it's pink, green, etc., etc. So I don't think we won't. It's unlikely that we'll go back to locking exclusively first-person. But of course, because we're not PvP, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference to a player base because everyone's just PvE. So it's not as if no player has an advantage over another player, whether they're just because they're using third person. It might not be the most satisfactory answer for everyone because I know some people just are like, no, Hawken should be first person, nothing else. I genuinely get that. But the wins that we get from adding that third person camera were just too many.
And also, going back to that, like, since the game isn't PvP, like, play the game how you want it. Like, if you want to be in first person, go for it. But like you mentioned, third person makes the next look pretty damn cool. So that's usually how I play as well.
100%. It was one of our sort of pillars when I first came on board. It was really important the barriers to entry were as little as possible. So pushing aside the quality of the game, pushing aside the idea that people are unhappy or were unhappy, both, that it wasn't a PvP game. We wanted to make sure that there were no barriers to entry. You could anybody will just jump in the game within a minute you're in there, and you can just switch camera views wherever you want, and that's quite important for us. We don't want to isolate anybody, and there's one thing that really grates on me is the fact that we haven't got custom keybinds in there yet. I'm really pushing to try and get that in as quick as possible, because I want people who can't just use a keypad normally, etc., need accessibility options to be able to play the game. That's a real big bugbear of mine. I know it's one for yours as well, but trust me, I'm really trying to push to get that in as soon as we possibly can. Okay, let's keep going. I'm probably talking a bit too much, which is why I'm falling behind a little bit. Question. Aha, Harold. When, if ever, are we getting emotes similar to the first game? Whew. I think I'm gonna say the same thing as I said like earlier, because the answer is the same. At the moment, emotes just haven't been a part of the daily conversation because we were so desperate to reach a point where the game was at least at this level, and yeah, this is it's still not where we want to be at in terms of the moment-to-moment gameplay. We still want it to be better. We still want to add loads more to core gameplay, etc. But it is now that we're finally here and we can start thinking about things like customization, and we can start thinking about things like emotes. The one thing that I'm not sure if I'm going to say something that I shouldn't say, but I'll say it anyway, and then I'll apologise if my bosses sack me. Things like emotes and stuff like that, normally there's no point in having them unless you have a player base to speak of, because obviously the only reason why developers put things like emotes in, well, there's two. Number one is because people love them, that's great, and number two, obviously, especially for free-to-play games make money off of things like emotes, but at the moment monetization is just not on our radar. It's not something that we're concerned about at the moment. We're concerned more about just making the game, uplifting the quality of the game. So I can't tell you when, but I can tell you that it will be linked to the player base continuing to just really enjoy it, and being relatively positive about the game, and starting to come in more numbers. At that stage, when you see bigger numbers in our player base, that's when we're likely to really go to town and add stuff like emotes and loads of skins, etc. Sorry, I do realise that's probably not the answer you're looking for, because obviously the fact that you've asked it means that you want to next week, but it's just not something that we're going to be able to do. Question from Markson. Turn cap set on the cockpit as a foreground object may help visually ground players, so jerky movements just to stare at the side of the cockpits. Building on that, any thoughts on the turn rate cap of original Hawken? So cheers for the tip. I'll get that to the guys. I don't know if I have any thoughts on the turn rate cap of the original. All I would say is, same as I said before, as you play an update, I would say to you, jump into the chat, the main chat, and explain exactly what you mean. What is it that's different, and why was one better and this one's worse, etc. So that we can really analyze, and because we'll talk about it. Trust me, when you give us any detailed explanation, of anyone in Discord, we love that, because we can take it, and then in our stand-ups we can talk about it, and we can analyze what you've said, and one of the team will turn around and say, oh, maybe not because of this or what else. They'll say, yeah, actually we can do that. So I don't have necessarily any thoughts on it. I'm okay with it, with the way it is, but that's probably because I've just got used to it. Doesn't mean it can't be better. So my answer to that would be to encourage you to really go into our Discord and really try to explain to us what you mean, what's wrong with it, why was Hawken 1's better, how is it different to Hawken's, and then that will spark a discussion in the team to see if we can rebalance it. Cheers, Maverick. I didn't realise, did I get the person wrong who asked that question about the Hawken 2XE? Apologies for that. It's all good. Question from Space Spiff 32. Nice, very fun. Hawken 1 Xbox. If you own the IP, do you own the Xbox version? If so, would you ever consider enabling mouse and keyboard for it, or reducing the crazy monetization pricing? All right, so a couple of sort of questions there. If you own the IP, I don't own the IP, but 505 does. So our parent company owns the IP outright. Just to answer that bit. Do you own the Xbox version? Again, I don't, but yes, the company does. Sorry, I'm being facetious. The company does own all versions of Hawken. The PlayStation version, the Xbox version, this Steam version you're seeing right now. Would we ever consider enabling mouse and keyboard? That's not, so I'm not working on that version of Hawken, and at the moment I don't believe there is a dev team working on that. So that the way that works is the original team got it working on console. They released it on console, and it did what it did. They started, I don't know, I'm not sure how long they worked in it. It was way before my time. But they reached a point where there isn't a fully active dev team working on the console games. So the idea of enabling mouse and keyboard at the moment, I'm sorry to say, I'm almost certain that would have to be a no. It's not my decision, but it's not the game I'm working on. If there is somebody else, they might even see that if they're, when we talk about it internally in whatever studio. But my understanding is there isn't an active dev team on the Hawken console games, so the answers would be no. Certainly about mouse and keyboard. Removing or reducing the monetization pricing. At the moment, again, I'm going to assume that the answer is no, but it's out of my remit, because I don't believe there is any rebalancing happening on Hawken 1 in terms of the gameplay, in terms of attributes or anything, and in terms of monetization. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But like I said, I'm not on that project at all, so I don't have anything to do with the console version of Hawken 1. I could be completely wrong. It's just that's what my understanding is. So yeah, sorry about that.
So we're back in the hangar. I think we got our first almost full patrol mission. I mean, this essentially was a full patrol mission. So I think we can, if you've got time, Luigi, we could play another quick patrol session with another player. If everyone still has more questions to answer, but I was listening to the chat because I wasn't paying attention to it as much, but it sounds like we got some pretty good questions asked and answered.
I'm more than happy to carry on. If you're happy to jump back into it, yeah, let's go through it and let's see if we can answer a few more questions. I'll try and be a bit more verbose. Sorry about that. I know I'm a big talker, unfortunately. So yeah, it's really difficult for someone like me to answer a question yes or no and leave it at that. But yeah, let's keep going if that's okay.
Yeah, Josh, are you okay to maybe spend another 30 more minutes? Because I know we've got meeting. I mean, it's our work day in the US just started.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm fine.
okay, cool. Let's get into one more patrol mission. And I'll just start another party. So thanks for joining, A-Rod. If you can leave room for another person, that would be awesome.
Cool. Am I right to carry on the questions, Sokun, or did you want to?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Harold, another question. Are there plans, or at least a desire, to have a shooting range of sorts where players can try out mechs and weapons before building? Yeah, so this is an interesting one. It's a conversation we have had. And again, it's in the list of things that, yeah, we would love to have one. And our VFX guy actually got like he had his own shooting range that he got up and running in Unreal. It was never in the Steam game, and he used it to basically check his VFX, so he could test what happens when he's up against a brick wall or a concrete or mud, etc. So there is a desire, but it's in that kind of backlog, if we can call it that, of things that is not the highest priority at the moment. But I would say I would love to have one, and I know that the team would like to have one as well, because I think it would be really cool to have it.
If you, you can actually Google Hawken Reborn shooting range. I think you could probably find one in ArtStation. That was one of the hidden gems that players found a couple months ago.
Yeah, because Richard had it in his portfolio, didn't he? Richard,
yeah, it was pretty cool too.
Another question from Silverfire. What are the current barriers or obstacles to implementing a party co-op chat system? Hurts to have a co-op game without a way to communicate in game. Yeah. So you can only imagine the amount of conversations that we've had in the dev team about it. Of course, the priority was to get where we are now. So the update 4 to get the settings and the options in there, and the fact that you don't have to send a code to a friend somewhere in order for them to join. So now we've got like a second pass of the lobby system, matchmaking system, whatever you want to call it, in there. We can now start having a chat about a voice or chat system. There are probably two big barriers for us. Number one is the time. It could potentially. I know I'm gonna. Somebody mentioned. I really apologise, Silverfire, if it was you. I'm not trying to, counter what anybody says. I know that some people have been sort of saying, it's like a quick 2-day tutorial, in Unreal, and you can get it working. Yes, you can. You can get a super basic version of a text chat, etc., working using the Unreal tutorial, but that wouldn't work. That it doesn't suddenly work in a game such as ours, because you have to plug it in. You literally have to plug it into everything else that's happening in the actual game itself. So the biggest barrier would be to find the time to actually do it, and it's probably, we're not really sure. I mean, it could be somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks. Let's say like that. That's how long it might be. And then on top of that, there is a whole bunch of QA that needs to happen. And then once the QA kicks in, then there's a whole bunch of fixes that need to, because it's not going to go in working perfectly straight away. So that's the first barrier to entry, is somebody to sit there and get the tech and plug it all into the game to actually make it work. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, I think I mentioned it the other day in the main chat, is because even though we are an indie-sized team, and this is at the moment this is a relatively small game. Obviously, 505 is a global publisher, which means they have a responsibility, and so the whole moderating of a voice chat or even a text chat, actually both ways. There's a lot of work to be done there. We have to do things like safeguard, because I think our game, am I right in saying, the game's 15 at the moment, right? So we have to safeguard people of 15 years, etc., versus adults, all this kind of stuff. It's people who are toxic on in a voice chat, people who are trolling people in voice chat, people who are swearing, all the stuff, and all of the worst stories that you've heard about in other major games. You can report people. We'd have to do all of that kind of stuff as well. So that's the other big barrier to entry, is there would be a responsibility on our shoulders to safeguard a voice chat system. Having said that, it is something that we want. Obviously, it's something that we want, because now that we've got, it's so easy to now jump into a co-op game. You don't have to do anything. You just press start patrol, and you're already in a co-op match, no matter what, as long as somebody else is there playing the game as well. So that you can now tell what's missing from the game is some sort of chat system. So we want it. Not 100% sure how quickly we'll be able to get it. We'll be able to get it into the game, etc. But it's definitely something that we want to do as soon as possible. I hope I've answered that well enough for you there. Just going to keep scrolling to look for the question. It's not quite a question, but it's a comment. Thanks, Markson, for that. The turn cut was a defining feature of Hawken that allowed mechs to use their speed as invincibility. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'll have a chat with the team about it. Actually, I'll have a chat with them next week, and I'll ask them why is ours so different to the original Hawken, and see what the answer is. Because you have to remember that the way that our mechs are configured is different to the way that the original Hawken mechs were configured, in terms of like behind the scenes, the tech that actually gets the code that gets a mech in front of you and jumping and flying and firing, etc., and dashing is different. That's not copied from Hawken 1, the original Hawken. Sorry, I never know what to call it now. So it could literally be as simple as that. Could be the simple answer, but I'm not sure. But I'll raise it. I'll speak to them, and I'll see what the answer is. And if I get a good answer, I'll jump into the main chat and give it to you. Black Noble question: any thoughts of going a dungeon approach? Given that the player enemies come into the world via portals, it raises the what if players were able to jump into the enemy portals, or few select ones as dungeons, procedure generated time zones that players can find during patrols. We have spoken about a kind of dungeon approach, if I'm understanding the question correctly. I think it is something that we would want to try again in the future, because I think it would really be really cool to be able to do that. I love the idea that players could actually use the enemy portals to just jump around the world as well. Again, all the ideas and all the thoughts that you guys have are exactly the same as ours. There really isn't much of a difference. So when someone says, "Oh, why don't you do this?" we're like, "Yeah, we want to." I think the biggest problem with the dungeon approach is at the moment we have no tech at all to move to that. But it doesn't mean we won't. It means I would love to be able to do it. And again, these are the conversations we'd have in the future, and it would all be about priorities. At some point, as long as if the game does pick up a proper player base, etc., in terms of numbers, we're going to have to start thinking about live ops and live events and things like that, because that's what players are going to want, I'm sure. and that's a part of it, right? To just be able to jump into a really quick dungeon somewhere and get the Jesus out of everything. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, even though I've been speaking to you in chat. Is it Z-Trail or Z-Trail or Exatrail? I'm really sorry. If you want to tell me the phonetic way of pronouncing it, I don't know if that's a character name from something. But anyway, where's the question gone? Any plan on supporting non-qwerty keyboards, either by using the scan code instead of the actual character or by adding a full keybind setting? So 100% I want custom keybinds in there. I'm not sure if that would fix your problem. I'm assuming it might do. And I feel like that would be the answer and the solution more than trying to support lots and lots of different types of keyboards. Because again, that would just require someone sat there going through, and we'll never catch them all anyway. There's always going to be someone somewhere out there in whichever country that their keyboard just simply doesn't work. So I think the real answer to that is custom keybinds that we want to sort of move towards. Yeah. So is it X-Trail? Is that how I should be pronouncing it? Z-Trail. Okay. Look, everyone else is the same. It's not just me. Doesn't know how to pronounce it. I haven't been watching the stream. How are they doing? Are they managing it? I take it you haven't killed an enforcer, right?
The enforcer from the last one was pretty brutal. So I was just like window shopping and watching everyone else try to beat him.
All right. So were you threat level 53 in the previous session?
I think we are higher. This is my Hornet,
okay,
which is a lower TL.
All right, that means that you would have
not to die like I did in the last session.
Yeah, we weren't even really doing anything.
Yeah, at that threat level, you would have triggered the hardest enforcer, so I'm not surprised.
Actually, I think the previous session we were level 40 something, and the enforcer was level 60, so we were just dinking it.
Yeah.
Artemis. Artemis is asking me a really awkward question. I'll read it anyway, and then I'll see if I can give you any kind of answer. I'm hearing lots of "we would like to do this and that." I'm assuming you mean from me in this Discord AMA. The player base. Is there any assurance that can be given that this game's development will continue? Because there have been lots and lots of speculation regarding how development is continuing, especially in the current game dev landscape, with how the launch was. Okay. What can I say about that? That it's very, very difficult to be optimistic at this moment in time in the game, working in the games industry. Now, I'm not sure how many of you keep an eye on the industry, but the last year and a half has seen literally tens of thousands of game devs lose their job. Project after project, game after game, either being cancelled or just taken down, etc. if they were live games. It's been a genuinely brutal year and a half. We weren't immune to that. You all know that we lost a substantial part of our team, which was absolutely heartbreaking for us. Like, it was a really, really difficult, just as difficult as it was for all the other teams that have also done it. So it's really difficult for me to give a positive response to that. All I can say to you is, at the moment, we're still here. We're clinging on by our fingernails. But like every live game, and every live free-to-play game especially, we will live and die by our player base. Now, up until now, player base has been substantially negative about the game. Absolutely fair. You won't hear me complaining about people being negative about it. This particular update seems that we've just a tiny bit turned the corner now. And all we can do is just wait and see what happens to the player base. Does it grow? Does the positivity continue in Discord and in Steam? I mean, you can see it in Steam. Things are still really, really rough. You know, we still have original Hawken players coming in and giving us negative reviews simply because it's not Hawken 1 and we don't have PvP in there. So these things are all play into any project, not just ours, it's any project. So that's what it will be based on. Are we getting more players? As we get more players, are those players happy? Do they like what we're giving them? And then at some point, of course, we will have to look at monetization. I've said it several times now. At the moment, monetization is not on our radar. It's just not something that we're still particularly concerned with because there's just too many other things in the base game that we need to fix and still polish and uplift. So it's a really crappy response and it's a bit of a negative response, but it's an honest one. And again, I've said to you, I'll always try to be positive when I'm allowed to be. Games industry is going through some really serious, real hell the last year. That doesn't look like it's stopping. Just last week, another UK studio announced redundancies, etc. So projects are really difficult at the moment. As long as we get your support, as long as we get support from more people and people are enjoying what we're doing and tell us that they're enjoying what we're doing, then hopefully the project can continue and we can eventually get to a Hawken with a big fat player base of people that just enjoy it. I'm really sorry. I hope that was a good enough answer for you. I don't know if it was the one you were after, but it's the best I can do at the moment. And I can see you've got a follow-up. I'm shocked that you've managed to keep the dev team going at all. A massive amount of respect. Cheers, thank you. I wish I could take the credit for it. I can't. The credit lies further upfield than myself. But as heartbreaking as it was to lose the bigger team, don't underestimate how we feel about the Hawken IP, right? Let me just say that and make this very, very clear. I speak for myself and I believe that the dev team also will agree with me. We love what we're doing. We're really, apart from the problems that we've had have obviously been very difficult, but we are so desperate to make this game work. We're enjoying it. This is an absolute dream. For me personally, this is an absolute dream project to work on. It's very, very rare when you work in the games industry that you work on a game that you really fall in love with and you think, oh, this is so great for me to be able to do this. And so it's really important that you guys know we're not just, this isn't just a case of a bunch of guys who people put together a team and they're trying to get some game working whether they care or not. We care big time and we're desperate for this to work. Not sure if I've missed question. Star Steel, I know we're running a little bit out of time, so I'm going to try and be a bit more verbose now. Horizontal movement is feeling quite nice right now, awesome to hear. Vertical movement still feels quite clunky and jittery, especially when hugging terrain. Yeah, I know it's being worked on. How high on the priority list is fine-tuning movement? I would say I wouldn't say it was a P0 at the moment because, so we're at a stage at the moment where, hey, something is working well enough that it's not completely having a massive negative impact on a player when you play. And when something slots into that, it's really, really easy for us to lower the priority because there are so many priorities. However, the jitteriness is something I really would love to fix. Not sure how quickly we could do that, but I definitely want to have a look at that to see if we can do it. So yeah, I know it's not great. So it's not, I would say it's not P0, but the more we stabilize the actual game and the more we reach this point of saying, okay, listen, we're at a stage now where we really can look at fine-tuning. That'll be when we go in and fix it.
What does P0 mean, Luigi?
Oh, sorry, priority 0. Apologies. It's a Jira bug ticket system thing. P0 is priority 0, which means get it fixed. It has to be fixed right now. Actually, a blocker is what has to be fixed immediately, and a P0 is the next one to that. Sorry about that. For the kind words, Ninetales, that's very, very cool of you to say so. Yeah, and you are Harold too. Cheers for that. Star Steel. Yeah, Ninetales. Look, I'm always going to try my best to be honest. You know, when someone tells me not to be, then there's nothing I can do about it. But no one's ever said that to me before. No one's ever said, "Nah, just lie." So yeah, I'll always try my best to give honest answers. Question from Silverfire: if you're able, are you able to talk in any capacity about what the next tasks you guys are working on, either from a technical standpoint or content? I can tell you what the immediate thing is. We are working on a hotfix, which we're hoping to push in the next couple of weeks, and that hotfix is going to take some of the bugs that you guys have found already, and so I think we've already fixed a couple of them anyway. And in that hotfix also will be just some little bits of polish. You might not even notice them, but they're little bits of things that are really annoying, because obviously it's a hotfix, not a patch or an update. So that's the immediate thing that we're working on right now. We're in what we call a sprint. I'm not sure if you guys know what a sprint is. It's just how we work in terms of our game dev, etc., our production. So the current sprint is for this hotfix, and that's any bugs that you've got. There's a couple of real annoying bugs. There's one in at the moment where sometimes you abort a mission and the mission stays on your screen, which is so confusing and annoying. And I'm literally jumping into a call on Monday with one of the coders and one designer to have a chat about that, to see if we can fix that. But sometimes it's difficult because it's not 100%. And so yeah, so that's the immediate plan. And then soon after that, I've just started working on, oh my God, look, I'm telling you about stuff I'm literally working on right now. I've just started working on a roadmap proposal now that we've got this new base, and it looks like we've reached a pretty decent foundation for the game at the moment. Again, unless things start going completely south from this point onwards, after people hearing me talking. And that roadmap will solidify what's going to happen over the next, whatever, I don't know, 6 months to a year, etc. Another question. Oh no, that was the last one. Same one. Yeah, Squid Soul says regarding that. I know. Yeah, it's been really difficult. I know. I can imagine when somebody takes an IP that you really love and does something that you really don't like, it can be really difficult. I know. So I appreciate the fact that you've been open-minded enough to sort of give us a shot. Cool. How long you got left? You're at the 20-minute mark. How much longer do you want to keep on going, Sokun?
We can do another 5 minutes, and then I'll head back to the hangar.
Okay.
Sorry, did my mic turn on?
Yeah, no, you on?
Okay.
I can hear you. Yep, can hear you.
Cool. Well, since we're limited on time, do you want me to go head back to the hangar? Maybe players can ask some questions about that element of the game.
Yeah, sure. Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me answer questions about the front end. Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, pressing questions about the UI, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. Oh my gosh. It's throwing me into the fire. This is watching you, Sokun. This is where I really love it when you just limp home. You know, I know you got just under a quarter of health there, but sometimes I've pushed it even further, and I get a real kick from just reaching home with, like, 5% of health left. It's something I really enjoy about it.
You can skip the part in the patrol where I actually did die, because I'm.
Oh, you did.
Good with it. I actually died with the Ostentum earlier too, but yeah, it didn't happen. Don't worry about it.
Cool, fair enough. So there's a bit of comment in the chat. There's no question. So let me. I might as well just jump in. Into the fire itself and just talk at a very, very general level. Okay. we're not recording this, so it's good. If anybody has a go at me for being dishonest, then I can just deny I ever said it.
We are actually recording it.
Oh no, you
so-
are okay.
Yeah. I fired up OBS, and so
Okay.
I'll cut it at this point. If we have
No,
issues.
it's fine. I was half joking anyway. So here's the deal, right? From day one, we really struggled with our UI UX. There's a bunch of different reasons for it. We bounced from UX designer to a UX tech to a UX coder, etc. And we had during a 1 year period. I think it was, I'm not sure if it was during COVID or just after or just before actually, but I can't remember which one. But regardless, we went through a period where the personnel changed who was responsible for it. And so we tried to refactor the tech, and that went horribly wrong. So therefore we tried to refactor the tech as well, but because we couldn't just completely throw the whole thing away because we never had the time, we had to use the original tech plus the refactored tech as a foundation to build what we have now. That foundation is it's not great. That's the only way I can say it. It's not. It's really difficult. Now we've started to refactor parts of it, which is why we've been able to actually work on it finally, and we have been able to sort of do things like add the codec screen and start changing colors because we've started to refactor little bits of it. But it's really hard to work in our front end, and I can't. There's another part of it in addition to the personnel. I can't even tell you why because I don't know. That sometimes things happen. This is part of game dev. It's one of the things that a lot of game devs don't really talk about. Sometimes you go down a road and it's the wrong road and you don't realize it's the wrong road until you get to the end of it and you're like, oh damn, we've just completely gone down the wrong road, and there's no real explanation for it. It's just simply that's just the way it happens. So all of these things plus a whole bunch more is why we've got the front end and the UI that we have. I'm hoping that we will continue to make at least small changes to it to make it more palatable. You can see we've already got rid of the really bright garishness in the hanger. We'll try our best to carry that on. But please no. Like I've got people the minute I raise a ticket to do anything in the front end or any kind of piece of UI, shoulders drop because they suddenly realize, oh my god, I'm going to have to go into the UI, and that's not a great place to be. But yeah, we know it's not great. There are parts of it that I do like. There are parts of it that I think that works really nicely, but those are very small parts compared to the whole thing. But the one thing I would say to you is you're going to have to be really patient with us in terms of that front end and UI because it's real hell to work in it. But we'll hopefully just keep chipping away until we get to a place where we want to be. Yeah, I'm really sorry. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I can only apologize for us making a massive mess of the front end. I know how much people hate it. It looks like there's one. I don't know if this is the last one, but there's one more question from Ninetails. I've heard that AI generated. Oh my God, where's the door? I've heard that AI generated assets were used in HR and were removed afterwards. Were they placeholders? What is the practice around using AI if the team is going to continue with that approach? I'm not entirely against the use of it, but there's almost no guarantee that you aren't using a program that doesn't have someone's art being used as a training data without their permission, and I'm entirely against that kind of use. Okay, so I think we've already spoken about this. So I'm just going to iterate what's been said because I think it was a good year, over a year ago, that we tried to explain in a dev blog. So we reached, I think it was December of 22. We reached December 22 and we knew we were going live in May of 23, and we had a meeting, and at that meeting, it was like, because we had a story. Sorry, we had the story missions. It was raised as an issue that we didn't have an intro to the game. So we turned around and said, well, we haven't got time. We're literally, the game's going live in like 5 months. And by the way, there's Christmas. I don't know if you know, with game studios at Christmas literally sort of come to a grinding halt. You almost have to write the month off almost. People take holidays because we shut down over the Christmas period. So we didn't have much time, and we had our lead artist was a really, I cannot tell you how talented this guy is. He was just so good, but he wasn't a comic book artist. So he did his best, and we worked with an external team, and they were working day by day. We started to put these intros. I think there were 4, if I remember correctly. We started to put these intros together. I was happy with it. I was like, listen, this is fine. We're a live game. This is still early access, etc. It's fine what we've got. However, artists. When you work with artists, you realize these guys are perfectionists, right? Nothing. There's no piece of art that's ever good enough for them that's in the video game. They always want to make it better. So he was really upset. They were really not happy with the fact that from one screen to the next, one panel, comic book panel, to the next comic book panel. I can't remember what the character's name is now. How crazy is that? The Doctor, Dr. Loomis.
Dr. Loomis.
She looked different. Okay, and that was I was fine with it. I'm like, look, comic books are like that anyway. I don't know but they were really unhappy with it. And at the end of the day, artists, they're like, listen, someone's going to look at this, and it's my work. So they very particular in that way. So the decision was made because we were running out of time. This was about, I'm talking maybe, I want to say February. I think February 23 now. We got everything in. They were saying, look, that character's just not right. So we used his original art. It was his art that had the foundation, and the external team, they were just red hot at what they were doing. They were really good at using AI and stuff. So they took his original art and they used a combination of, what's Unreal's character system? I can't remember what the character system is anyway, but it's an Unreal character system. I really can't remember off the top of my head. So they used a bit of that, and they used a bit of AI, but they used all of the original artist's artwork to create a character that was consistent across however many panels. I think it was 3 or 4 panels. That was where it used. The fact that her hands were really messed up, and I think there was another couple of really strange things, was because we ran out of time, and in the end we just had to turn around and say, listen, we're going live in a month, and when you push a game to live, you have to lock the build. And the bigger the game, because this was our first version as well, we had to lock the build. I think it was 5, maybe even 6 weeks before we went live. And once you lock the build, what that means is you cannot make a change to the build. It's all about testing, QA testing, and the only things that get fixed are what I talked about earlier, blockers. Blockers are basically things that stop players from playing the actual game. So we had to lock the build. We were in this place where we had no, we'd used this bit of AI tech. We didn't really want to, and it's certainly not something that we were planning on sort of using after that. And again, I think, there was an element of, let's just get it in there, and then it buys us a bit of time. And then in an update, we can get rid of that, and we can, our artists can sort of make it better, and etc. But that's pretty much what happened right there. Sorry, I don't know if that was really long-winded. So that's what happened with us. In terms of how we use it, there's a couple of things there. Number one, everything I'm here, we don't use it. We're not using AI at all on Hawken. That was the only place we did use it, in those cutscenes. Haven't used it anywhere else at all. 100%, I can say that. In terms of the wider games industry, everything I'm hearing is people believe that AI is going to really help dev teams. Now, whether it helps dev teams in terms of prototyping, etc., or whether it helps dev teams, and that's including AAA, to get across the line, I don't know. But I think it's something that we're going to have to really tread very finely. I haven't got a clue how it's going to go. And I don't know how AAA teams are going to use it. All I can tell you is the answer to your last question. There was no. We are not using it, and currently we have no intention of using it. And the only place we used it was in that cutscene. I think there were 2 cutscenes that we used in. I hope that answers the question. Sorry, I know that was really long-winded.
I think that was a good last question to end our very first live stream.
Am I going to get the sack soaking?
No, I mean, it was definitely helpful to help explain it. We tried to put it in as many words as we could, but obviously explaining the entire situation helps a ton. So hopefully that issue can be laid to rest, and if not, I will just send players over to the recording of this live stream and just tell them to watch the entire live stream first, and then that'll build up into the very last question that they're looking for. So if you guys didn't have a chance to watch the entire live stream, we played 2 different sessions with a Bulwark heavy mech as well as one with the Vex Hornet mech. So 2 decent sessions to showcase the game, and hopefully you guys got a good sense of where the game is at the moment. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for joining. I don't know if Luigi, you had any last words.
Cheers, Soken. Look, honestly, I just want to say thank you so much. Thanks for joining this AMA. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate the reactions that we've had to update 4. I know that the team do as well. 100%. I really hope you believe me there. It's been such a boost, a morale boost to the team, because it has been very, very difficult for us. And the last thing is please, as I mentioned a couple of times during this AMA, always, whenever you're frustrated about something, go into that Hawken chat, the main chat in Discord, and just write as good an explanation as you possibly can to say, I don't like this, here's why I don't like it. And that very, very well could trigger a conversation that we have in the dev team. But other than that, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've got some, an insight at least into what's happened, etc., and what we're doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Luigi. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you in the servers.
Cheers to you, Soken and Josh, as well. Thanks for that.
Take care. Bye.
Right, cheers. Bye.